Ho, 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 it's Tim O'Keefe, Coach Tim, sitting here in the Spider Cave, some call the Spider Lab, and it's the Wall of Fame behind me, and I want to talk to you about a couple things. Number one, I want to say Merry Christmas. Thank you for following me. Hopefully you take some of my ideas in making content and creating a voice for you to become a thought leader, and when you're a thought leader, you own the subject. You're no longer a commodity. And in today's technology, we're all quickly becoming commodities. When I first started SEO, back in the 90s, nobody knew what SEO was. So literally, if I said SEO, they go, what? And then finally, there was a magic that was attached to the acronym SEO. I don't know what it is, but it gets you at the top of Google. And if you're at the top of Google, you make millions, right? There's this get rich quick thing, and it was emotional. And so the word got out that I did SEO, and man, people flocked. And then that kind of became, he blogs. And I had I've had a couple things. One was when I first started, I had one of the top real estate sites in the world. And then I also had one of the top real estate marketing blogs in the world, and arguably the best. So then the world moves on, right? And one of the things that I learned through blogging, and then that I use a lot within social media, is how to create conversation and to create thought leadership. And the biggest secret, you guys, is having the ability to describe emotionally as well as factually, mostly emotionally, what this means. What does it mean? And when you're able to describe that, and have enough people following you that buy into your description of what this means, then you own a big chunk of an audience, okay, and of a marketplace. There's a lot of people that try to do that through owning technology, and I would suggest that that's probably the worst thing you could possibly do is prove to somebody that you know how to do math. That it puts people to sleep other than math heads. So you're going to have to learn to talk emotionally also. That's what moves us. It's what moves the world is emotions. We're not rational animals, sorry. We're just not. So what does this all mean? Well, I want to explain to you a couple things. One is the guy behind you up on the Wall of Fame. That's my youngest. Born with some athleticism, but very average football player the first 3 years of his high school. Last year, he flicked the switch, got a better attitude, and became one of the better players in the area. What changed? Did he all of a sudden get infused with this massive talent? No, it was his attitude. And so I would surmise, and I'm pretty sure, that things that were seen as adversities were seen all of a sudden now as opportunities. And that's really the difference of his success. It's something that I've learned from Rex Sykes, one of the guys I interviewed on the podcast. One of his famous lines that he lives, to absolute, just to the hilt, he does not deviate, is everything that happens to us is an unprecedented opportunity to be successful. Something like that. I'm probably not getting it exactly how he says it, but pretty much that. And that's where all adversity is opportunity, right? And it sounds syrupy, and it sounds out of a real cheap self-help book, but it's truth. It's absolute truth. And so what I want to extend to you is how to develop a thought leadership, an authority over your marketplace, so that you can be successful. You can have the authority where you're able to cut through some of the sales process and the noise. Because like I said, the messages are unending that's coming into our world. So real quick, so what's happening? This is what's going to happen. Okay, and this was a little bit of a pep talk to get ready for it, because it could happen right all of at the same time. It could happen over an extended period of time, but we're looking at massive disintermediation and disruption from technology. It's how all of a sudden Uber is a household name, and we don't say the word taxi that much anymore, right? It's how, and these are real examples. I'll give you an example back to the football. 2 years ago, Nick's junior year, there was a kid on the team who was a senior who literally had his piece of his finger ripped off of his hand. And I didn't believe it. I just thought, oh, it's teenage talk. And I wasn't close enough at that point to really know the ins and outs, because I didn't even know that it happened until a little while later, post the game. And so last spring, Nick's says, yeah, they're reattached. They are healing his finger. I'm like, how do you heal a ripped finger? And where they attach it and they sewed it back on, right? That's kind of what we all grew up with and thought of and think of, probably, if you're in my generation. And he goes, no, it's something to do with stem cells. I'm like, come on, man, really? So I went to the net and I looked it up, and sure enough, they're growing fingers with stem cells. This kid's finger's grown back. Oh, really? So being the good social media guy I am, I put that up onto the web. And somebody said, yeah, they're also growing teeth. Oh, come on. Now, really? What are we, all becoming lizards? So they go, yeah, there's a guy in New York who's doing it, a dentist. Look it up. Sure enough, there's a guy in New York growing teeth. Well, there goes the dental implant business, right? At the same time, this year, I remember reading about a kid in India who 3D printed his braces because his family could not afford braces. These are technological disruptions. I've always thought that, the trades are safe, contractors. And then I saw a video of a 3D printer making a wall. Whew. Well, maybe all this is just urban myths, right? These kind of thing. Then I realized that a story about up to 3 million truckers, 18-wheeler truckers, being disrupted from self-driving trucks is coming. And I backed it up and found out that the Obama administration actually had published a study that was on this. So this stuff's happening. We've all heard about the kiosks, right? You go to McDonald's and there's a kiosk there, and then in the back, well, at least the fry cook gets to keep his job. No, there's robots doing the flipping. Right now we're in the middle of everybody's joyous because unemployment is down and lowest in years, decades, and taxes are down for the corporates, so they're paying that back in bonuses and investments and all that, and joy to the world, right? Well, at the end of the day, there's an insatiability in your business and my business and every business to grow profit and lower cost. And if you're able to do it, you do it. And that's where it's going. And the question is how do we not get replaced, right? I even read a thing somewhere saying that people in my business, SEOs and whatnot, will be replaced. I have a hard time figuring that one out because I always said part of my business is science and part of it is art. But crazier things have happened. So let's add another industry. I just heard of a couple things. One is the real estate business, which is a 2.5 years, usually to 3% per side seller and buyer commission to the agent. And there is serious concern at the top of sites like Zillow, etc., Trulia, looking for ways to build a menu-based real estate model, where as a consumer you just go on there and buy, I want my house listed, I want a sign, and I want an open house. Okay. And that is a concern coming from the head of a MLS here in California. Spoken to a guy who's a family member of mine. Another thing in real estate. Right now, there's a company that's growing like gangbusters that is getting rid of the big box office thing of real estate, the overhead of real estate, and going to the cloud-based real estate transactions and franchising. So the system, I guess, that you're getting is their system that's on the cloud. But as something I've been saying since the early 2000s, today's technology is tomorrow's homework assignment. Their system is easily copied and duplicated. So at some point, my guess is the disruptor becomes disrupted. There will be a better Uber at some point. There will be perhaps a better way to do stem cell. So how do you not, by the way, this, technology is the quickest to commoditize. And so, because it's so easily copied and mimic and whatnot. So how do you beat that? And, as an example, an esthetician, if I could say that, or a cosmetic non-surgical plastic surgeon might get into a situation where they have they purchase the latest greatest technology in skin tightening, and then somebody down the street, right, buys the same equipment and does the same thing at half the price. It's just like when Botox came out. Botox was, I think, up to $2,000 or $3,000. You could see signs on the highway, Botox, $100 or whatever, right? I mean, just it's because it's so commoditized. It's supply and demand. There's so much supply, and demand hasn't kept increasing. And so, to make it worse, with these machines, with technology, you can now get on Alibaba and buy these machines. It may not be as good, but when it's so cheap, a lot of us are willing to bypass rationality and we'll look at ways to see if it actually works. Never mind, it might fry our arm off, but a lot of people are buying these at ridiculous prices, figuring I'll just self-treat. So what do you do if you're that plastic surgeon or you're non-surgical plastic surgeon? You create an environment. In the cosmetic dentistry, they have dentistry spas, and it gives the illusion of a special treatment. It's not just getting your teeth drilled; it's getting your teeth drilled with, beautiful scents and and a hairstyle done. I don't know. I don't know. But the point being is the experience is special. So that's something that's been around for a while, is, create the experience. That's something that Starbucks probably would say is a big part of their rise, where they're on every other block, it seems like now. You go into Starbucks and you just smell that smell. You got to have some, right? And when you go into other places, you don't really smell the coffee like that. Somehow they're getting that coffee to smell up the place on purpose. So there's that experience that makes it not a commodity anymore. It makes it special, which is why they're able to charge $4 for a cup of coffee instead of going to Winchell's or the local coffee or donut shop and getting it for 50 cents or whatever, right? That's the difference. So how do you create that in your business? And how you create it partially besides some of the things I've alluded to, like experiences and whatnot, is explaining and becoming a thought leader by explaining, what does this mean? What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? You can lop on extra value, right? A lot of people will create value out of, instead of one product, we do two products. And because it's those two products specially done together, or two services done together in our special proprietary way, you have to pay more, right? And so a lot of times it's just knowing how to package things, but it's also packaging the information and framing the information where you're creating the frame. If you in NLP and hypnosis, they use framing a lot because what is it? It's perspective, right? If right here around, if I can do this around my face, you're closer up, the frame is different than when it is here. Here I'm letting you into the wall of fame. Here you just have to look at my mug. I'm sorry. Okay, so I created a different frame. Now you might start looking at the defects in my face, some of the scars. Maybe I missed here or there on shaving. I didn't sculpt the goatee quite well. Right back here, I get the benefit of you not being able to see all that stuff. So, right, change the frame, or I just go blank on you, right? And there is no frame. I do that all the time with podcasts. People go, "Well, why we should do this? Do these things on more futuristic, more modern technology, like a webinar." And most webinars don't show you anything, right? And in fact, the only reason we're doing this is on visually is because people will look at video. It's something that I could point to. It's evergreen. I'm using props. I use my son's cutout up there as a prop on the opportunity and adversity switch. I'm making my phone ring right now. No. Note to self, turn off phone when doing broadcast. Gotcha. Okay, that's locked in. So I'm going to end this real quick. What I'm trying to get through to you is to develop your own thought leadership and own it and press it, because it's the only way. It's not the only way, but it's a big way to cut through the muckety muck of what's out there, because the world is screaming at your prospects' ears, and they're literally, and we've all have experienced this, where they're hiding behind their computers, they're not picking up the phones, they don't want to hear you. Your email is going to their spam box or right to delete. Open rates are horrible. So it's creating value, and it's creating value in a way of explaining the world to them. If somebody's looking for SEO, usually they're looking for, can you just explain the world to me a little bit? I want traffic. I want business. I want sales. And so how do I create that map emotionally to that sale? And it's by explaining the world. Part of the world in SEO, in my world, is creating information, creating content. It's what I'm doing right before your very eyes. I'm explaining to you how the world is, what it means. You could use this same technique in your own business, right? There's all kinds of interesting stuff that goes on in your business. If you're in the habit, let's say you're a realtor, and you say interest rates went up today by 1/4 point, and you shut your mouth, that's almost mean. Well, so what? It went up 1/4 point. Well, you want to buy a house, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, that means you afford X amount of less house. What's it mean to me? What's it mean to me? One of the things that I have been pushing very heavily this year, I'm going to leave you with this, in the last few months, is Google last September announced to the world that Chrome would be warning visitors to your website that if it's not secure, SSL, or HTTPS as opposed to HTTP, that your website will be flagged. It'll be warned as unsecure or unsafe or something like that within Chrome. So I warned everybody about the October warning. October came and went, never happened. Well, I myself didn't change over until about a week and a half ago. So I thought, well, I guess I warned everybody about October. I guess I should warn them that I actually believe it's happening very soon. And that's why I changed our website over to HTTPS. Okay. And so I explained why that matters. It matters because Google will warn you. Your clients will run from your site because it's insecure. My browser told me so. If it's insecure, that means I can't trust you. I can't trust your brand. If they can't trust your brand, guess what? Google picks up on those signals. They can't trust your brand. If Google can't trust your brand, uh-oh. Okay, I just explained how the world works. Right? In emotional ways. In ways that matter to you. Explain the world in emotional ways to your marketplace. Okay? Be a thought leader. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Be thankful for what we have. And let's be thankful for what we're about to be a part of and what we're creating. Go out to 2018 and kick some ass. Thank you.